And another artist spotlight, this time with a guest artist. Please, everybody, welcome KORTIKO. Did I pronounce this correctly?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
And your native name, I will not try to pronounce it here in public. I know how to write it, how to spell it, but...
Do you want me to...
Yes, please do that for me.
Yeah, my real name is actually Nemanja Rancic.
Okay, this is why I wanted him to say that, because this is not a name we encounter a lot in the Errorgrid artist group. And this is because KORTIKO is from Serbia.
Yeah, Belgrade, Serbia.
Belgrade, Serbia. See, my God. I know quite a few people from Serbia from back home when I still lived in Switzerland, because obviously we were much closer then. But now here, I don't actually have a lot of contact, if at all, with Serbian music producers. So when you reached out to me, of course, I was immediately taken by the music. But then when I saw that you're from Serbia, that really piqued my interest, because I don't know the first thing about the Serbian music industry and the scene, but that's something that we're gonna touch upon later. Now, what I would like to focus on is this beautiful release we had a couple of weeks ago, Coarse Interference, it is called, and it is a single with a bonus track. And so when I first heard your music, I was immediately taken by the rawness and the power. And I saw a video on YouTube, I think that's something that also, or on Instagram, I'm not sure, that in a very beautiful way uplifted this raw energy in your music. And then we started to talk, and I always wonder where this energy comes from that people put into their music, when then you meet the nicest guy, but then this darkness and power in their music. I know those are two different pairs of shoes, but I always want to know, what is it that drives you to make that kind of dark and deep and powerful music, my friend?
Well, first of all, thanks for your kind words. And regarding the energy, I guess it has to do something with my music background, because when I was a kid, I grew up with a lot of metal and rock from my brother and my dad. And then later on, I was a lot into electronic music when I was a kid. Like the scene was really diverse. Like when I was a teenager, you could really attend so many gigs, like psytrance, techno, drum and bass, metal,
in
whatever.
In your hometown.
Yeah, and even it was both local bands and musicians and foreign bands and DJs and producers, because it was pretty diverse. That was period from, let's say, 2000 until 2012, 13. Then it actually diversity was reduced, so to say, because of the mainstream artists.
When was it reduced? Like in 2000 or 2012?
No, 12, 13, something like that. I can't really pinpoint the year, but it started slowly to, actually the underground scene started to decline. I don't know why. I mean, I guess it has to do something with hyper-production, and that's the thing that is killing the music these days. Not these days, but years.
Yeah.
And so I was actually influenced by a lot of bands and artists, and I also had a band for 10 years. We played metalcore, and I guess
what instrument did you play?
Guitar.
Guitar?
Yeah. And I guess that even in the earlier days when I was going to music school, I was more drawn to darker music, let's say to some darker Baroque works from composers, and I guess that's the whole mix made me a bit dark, so to say. And then later on, I guess the situation around me, in the whole world, is somehow projecting through me, because when I work on my music, I like to pour out my emotions. So that's how actually I really feel about world. like for last, I don't know, like 5-6 years.
Can I just interject before I lose the thread? So first, you have a formal education in music, right? You went to music school. But not only that, you also work in music. Like you are a film composer, right? You compose music for commercial projects, for films, for
TV
the local
games. Yeah.
So how much of that darkness are you allowed to channel into your commercial productions?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm really lucky because I can channel a lot of darkness because I work on different genres, but they all have the dark part actually. And even if it's some drama or it's some action movie or it's a sci-fi game, it's pretty much dark. So I mean, I really don't like happy music, to be honest, you know, like it's not my thing. So I'm really lucky actually. Everything I work.
So you're the guy to call over there if you need darker kind of scoring. I technically I don't really like the word dark. It's just so anyone watching or listening to this, replace dark with whatever word fits your definition better. I find it a little too much of a blanket statement, but just, you know, this kind of like brooding, underlying, luring energy. And I find your music has a lot, it works a lot with something that I love in composition, which I call it call and response, or also like push and pull. You know, it's something that I search for in my own music, where you have energy pushing, and then you almost have a beat, a break, and then it just pulls back. So you as a listener get like moved around by the composition, which really helps for these kind of genres. And it's something that I hear throughout all your music. And you shared a bit during the pre-release phase. So now, you having been a guitarist and part of the local metal scene, how do you switch then from something that is so like driven by a much more, you know, physical instrumentation to being a guy sitting in a room by himself with the computer in front of him and little electrical gadgets and, you know, composing that way? Because that's a completely different approach to music making, right?
Yeah, it is, but actually it happened like I must admit, like it happened really in a strange way. I was watching the first Transformers movie. It was like back in 2007, and I'm a big Transformers, and I was like completely blown away by music. I mean, that was my first, let's say, how to form this, like first strong interaction between movie score and myself, and it really moved me. And when I got out of the cinema, I was like, this is the thing I want to do. Really, like it just happened like that. And then I realized like it had all the factors that I like: different instruments, different emotions, different production techniques. So it was like a complete buffet, musical buffet.
You got all the elements.
Yeah. That's when I decided, okay, I should give it a go. And then I was working like 2 years before that. I started working with electronic music with a friend of mine. And I was just like, probably that goes also way back because I was going to a lot of psytrance parties when I was a kid. Okay. And the old school ones, and that thing.
He has to specify old school ones. Not just your regular mundane current times psytrance parties, the old school ones. Well,
yeah. So I get everything mixed and hit me like a fist in the face.
And now here you are. And what would you say now? What would you give as a word of advice to a budding up and coming, you know, or someone who wants to break into the industry of film scoring or scoring for games in general? What was your biggest lesson that you wish you had known earlier, in which you now, you know, kind of capitalize on? What is something, maybe something that you're willing to share? I mean, we're far away from you, so, you know, maybe you can share with us.
I like to share, actually. And then first thing I would love to share, and the thing I learned, is like listen to a lot of music, like all the possible genres. Like even if you don't like them, give it a chance and take a list, because it's like, I like to compare music like with food, because they're both art, actually. And like, imagine yourself eating just like 2 or 3 dishes every day. It's not emotional.
I know some people who do that. I know a lot of people who do that. What is it, like? Well, pizza and sushi? Not me.
If you want to cook a dish, you couldn't make anything except pizza and sushi. You know, I mean, it helped me really a lot, because through one genre I could find something new in completely opposite genre. So they all interfere with each other, like, and that's the most beautiful thing about music, because when you listen to something, you can like have an idea in a completely opposite way, from completely opposite direction, and that's the beauty of it. So first thing I can like recommend to everyone is like to try to listen to as much as music you can, like genres, different artists, and that's how you will gain like a small but meaningful percentage of knowing music, actually.
I like that. I like what you did.
That's something. Thanks. It really helped me.
You brought in a word that I'm going to use to tie over to the release. You said how the different genres interfere. The release on Errorgrid, course interference, right? The interference of the trajectory of the course. Maybe just quickly, why did you choose that as a title for your release? I'm always curious.
Well, it's two-sided, actually. The first thing is the one I just talked about, the interfering of different genres and everything and ideas. And the second one is the obstacles that interfere your course, which actually help you overcome them and move faster afterwards and easier. So it's like something that drives me, the interfering of all the obstacles you have in your life. So yeah, that's like, those are two sides of the name.
That is a very interesting way of looking at it. And you know me, that I'm one who always loves to talk about the things that drive us as artists. And interference has a clear, I'm not going to use the word negative, but it has a certain quality, right? It's, you usually don't want interference because it meddles and messes with the purity of the signal. And so now there are two schools of thought that collide here, because I have this conversation very often with my guys, where we talk about, should we actually listen to more music and allow more noise in? Because the danger of listening to more is, of course, influence, right? Mental manipulation. You become somehow guided subconsciously by ideas that are not your own, and maybe something that you wanted to do that was original will not happen because you compare yourself to all the things that you heard before, versus opening yourself up so that you can be stimulated and actually bring these things out better, because you now find experience and tools out there. And I know there's no right answer to that. It's more like an attitude or a mindset to art creation that you must have. And I don't want to make this about me, but I would just want to throw in this idea: subtractive art and additive art. So either you have a block of granite and you chisel away what you don't need because you know that the piece of art is already inside of the block of granite locked in, or you have nothing and you add clay and you create from the ground up. These two kind of schools of thinking and approach in music making, where I am definitely of the first kind. Like, I for myself had to discover that And I find it very interesting that it is a kind of a guiding principle in you to actually open yourself up to all that clay and amassing all these ideas and then kind of sifting through it. Like maybe you have a closing statement on that, you know, and it's not judgmental. I'm not judging either approach. I just find it interesting.
I guess, yeah, really interesting. Both points are interesting, and I never thought about it that way. I was just like, let's say, like, well, when I say interference, like it's like that's really old technology. When you were listening to old radios, you were certain station, then some other station interferes, and you hear something, and it's like, wait, what's this? And then you hear something you like. So like you can look at that way about it. And both views you talked about subtractive or additive art. I don't know. I think I'm more of an additive guy. I don't know.
You are. I think you are. I mean, relating to what you just said, and I think this is a great thing. I would just say that any advice is always personal, right? And what works for one person might not work for another one. But I find the analogy with the interference very, very tempting, very interesting. And everybody has to decide for themselves, right? If they just mentally, you know, if you're mentally, I'm not going to say unstable, but maybe easier to be destabilized, then external interference will mess with you more than if you have a firm standing, you know, in firm position. Then you can see interference as something that you can benefit from. So as always, mental health is a huge topic and discussion in the realm of art and art making. And I think this topic also kind of brings it out. But thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, now in closing, I just want to direct everyone's attention back to this amazing release called Coarse Interference, a guest release on Errorgrid, to be found on Bandcamp and anywhere where you like to listen to your music. If you can, of course, try to choose Bandcamp because for obvious reasons. 3 tracks plus a bonus track, and I really invite everyone to dive into the amazing energy of KORTIKO and those tracks, and also check him out because he has much more in store, and I can't wait to hear more of him. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna see you again on Errorgrid sometime soon.